Welcome to Life Happens, where Texans come to protect their legacy and prepare for the second half of life. Join your host, Attorney Kim Hegwood of Your Legacy Legal Care, and our weekly guest as we navigate the challenges that emerge as life happens. Now here's your host, Kim Hegwood.
Good morning and welcome to Life Happens with me, Kim Hegwood, and my very special guest today is Celeste Harris with the Houston Area Parkinson Society. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm super excited. And so today we're going to talk about bridging care and community, a social worker's role. So, what you do at Houston Area Parkinson Society. And that's good to know because we have clients that are have been diagnosed with Parkinson's, so we definitely want to make sure that they know how you can help them. And so we probably should start off with something simple and tell our listeners that, what do you do and how do you support people with Parkinson's?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Houston Area Parkinson Society is a nonprofit organization that works with people who have Parkinson's. I like to say that where the doctor's office stops, we start. So, we don't provide medical care. We provide education, exercise, enrichment, support, family consultations, home wellness visits, all kinds of things that are kind of outside that medical care, but still a huge part of like whole mind body wellness when you're approaching something like a chronic neurodegenerative illness. As a social worker, my role is really direct client interaction. So I'm facilitating support groups, I'm doing home visits, we're doing family consultations, and that can be in a variety of ways. So phone calls, Zooms, in person, in office, really just interacting to provide people that support and information and referral they need to better their quality of life.
Fantastic. And so what do you find is the biggest challenges that people face with Parkinson's, and how do y'all help them navigate that?
So, I mean, there are several. I think the obvious one would be mobility. People with Parkinson's have impacted mobility. It's really the first thing that kind of sparks people's need to go to the doctor. We're having trouble swinging my arms, or I'm having trouble getting in and out of bed, or I'm having trouble getting in and out of my car. And so through exercise programs, through our therapeutic programs, helping people regain some of that mobility, find more fluidity and range of motion through these maintenance programs, I think is so important. But then I think what people with Parkinson's also realize they need is that community. Parkinson's is a long-term diagnosis. I know people who are not even in their 70s who've been diagnosed 20, 25 years and who have decades ahead of them. And they need that Parkinson's support. They need peer support. And so being able to tune in and lock into a community who understands what they're going through physically, emotionally, medically is really important and something that we try and facilitate.
Awesome. That's great. But you said something about home visits. And so I'm going to like to dig in a little bit. And how do you approach case management, home safety evaluations, and what all else do you do when you're in the home with a client?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not just me. So as a social worker, and our executive director is also a social worker. So we are both doing client consultations in a social work framework. We're really looking for people who have a need for us to understand them in their space. So a home visit is really not just about it's difficult for you to travel or transportation is an issue, but also how can we help you? How can you help us, I suppose? How can the client help us understand your space and your framework so that we can help facilitate solutions to your very specific problems? But we also have other programs that bring people into the home. Our director of outreach is a doctor of physical therapy. She does physical therapy consultations. We have another doctor of physical therapy who does home wellness visits. We have an occupational therapist who will soon be doing aging in place evaluations. So we're really, one of the things I think that is so unique about us is that we are really trying to get to people in their space and where they are so that we understand each individual situation, each unique situation very, very closely.
Just out of curiosity, how many clients can y'all handle as far as, I mean, because there's a lot of people with Parkinson's diagnosis now. And so that seems like if you're going into the home, it seems like you'd need a lot of people, or do you have to limit the number of clients that you can have? Or how do y'all work that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. At the moment, we're not limiting clients. If anything, what we end up doing is pushing back appointments. So in some weeks, I may be able to see someone tomorrow if there's availability in the schedule, and sometimes it might be 2 or 3 weeks if they're in one of the outlying areas, because we do cover a very large area of Houston. Conroe really to Galveston, Katy to Baytown. And so just kind of depending on where someone is and what part of town they're in, how we're able to reach them is really more a matter of timing. So it may not be, within 24 or 48 hours, but if we can get on your schedule in 2 or 3 weeks, then that would be great as well. And I think it's important to note that in case management and in client interactions and the Parkinson's community, yes, there are acute needs, things that we've got to get to quickly, but we're also thinking long term. So there may be a point where I'm working with a client very closely, seeing them every week or every other week for 2 or 3 months, and then their situation may stabilize, and I may not see them outside of kind of extracurricular programs, exercise groups, or educational programs for years until they need some more acute assistance. And that's well within what we do because of the long-term diagnosis.
Well, that's great because I was a little worried there for a minute. And what resources and services does HAPS provide the client in order to maintain independence, for as long as possible? Because I know some people, can live with Parkinson's for a long time before it gets, where they struggle. And then some people struggle very quickly. So what kind of resources do y'all give them or help them with so they can stay at home as long as possible?
Absolutely. So we believe very strongly that engagement and education is empowering. And so all of our programs are designed around facilitating self-reliance and self-efficacy. So this idea that individuals can propel their situation forward, right, with enough engagement and assistance. So obviously off the bat, our groups, therapeutic programs like exercise groups and support groups, those are going to be critical to maintaining motor function and exercise, but also cueing into the community to have facilitated support groups to share resources and answer questions and vent, have that emotional release and that community catharsis. Those are going to be really important. We have a lot of educational programs, both virtual, like webinars, but then in person, to help people raise their Parkinson's IQ, right? We want people to understand what they're going through and maybe even to have kind of a some pre-education so that if something does come up, they're like, hey, I heard about that. That was at the symposium 2 years ago. I can go and find my pamphlet, my booklet, and look back and get some information about this new symptom that I'm experiencing. So the educational programs. We offer enrichment programs, things like book club and game night to just kind of help foster that community, but also provide some of that mental stimulation and exercise, that cognitive component as well. But then also practically, we offer a respite program. So we know that in-home care that is not paid for by insurance, so the non-medical activities of daily living side is something that is at a premium, both in terms of how much it costs, but how much it's needed. And so we're able to provide some assistance to families dealing with Parkinson's to bring professional caregivers into their home to provide that assistance. We're able to provide limited transportation, but transportation to doctor's appointments and our larger scale programs so that people are able, who might have transportation issues or mobility issues, we can help them get to those doctor's appointments, maintain their medical care. And then, like I mentioned, we offer a variety of other services like home wellness visits and aging in place visits and physical therapy consults, not in a medical context. So our physical therapist, our director of outreach wouldn't necessarily go and do one-on-one physical therapy, but instead offer education and support and guidance on how an individual could approach their personal therapist or their exercise program based on their particular needs.
Wow, that's that's a lot, you know, and that's just amazing. And so definitely. And so how about tell us a story? And can you share a success story, you know, where your work's made a significant impact on a client's life? Because I think people can appreciate what you do, you know. I think storytelling really works well. And so
And I thank you for that opportunity. It's hard, not because there aren't stories, but I do want to preface that like these are client successes, right? If I had a role in someone's journey that was positive, then I had a role, but it was their onus and their impetus and their motivation that really got them to that success. And I can think of a client who's since passed away. She and her partner were individuals who lived alone, who were very private about their living situation. And over the course of several years, they really opened up with another social worker, and then with me as I took over their case management, and we were able to get them in-home care. They were able to, you know, travel back and forth to Florida to see family, eventually, you know, transitioning into a hospice situation. And it was really just such a wonderful experience to see someone embrace community, to see someone go from being very private about their journey, private about their healthcare, even with their partner, and then open up so that we could sit in their living room on speaker and call Medicare, and we could go to the pharmacy together to pick up their medications or go to the doctor together. That's something that we do on occasion as well. I would go with them to their neurology appointments so that there was a presence, someone who could take the notes and then translate the doctor speak to something that they felt that they could understand and that they could internalize a little bit better from, you know, perhaps a more social work perspective as opposed to the medical perspective. And that was a really wonderful relationship to be a part of.
that's great. I will tell you a secret though. And so one thing, my mom might go to the doctor by herself, but my sister makes her call her and put her on speakerphone. So when
Yes.
the doctor comes in, she can listen to everything the doctor says and ask questions if she has clarity. So that works really well as well. So in case she can't be there, it works really well.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about other people, but my mom will hear one thing and that's it. The
Well,
rest of it will go right out the window. And so it helps to have some,
they
yeah.
get focused on one thing the doctor says and they start kind of churning that over in their head, and they've missed 3 or 4 sentences that were critical. So having someone else there to help hear is really important. The speakerphone's a great idea.
Yeah, so it just helps when you can't be in one place, you know, all the time. And so, because I know it works really well in my family. And so, what advice would you give to families and caregivers supporting a loved one with Parkinson's?
The first is educate yourself.
Yes.
Get the books, come to the programs, be mindful of how much you are trusting Dr. Google. So,
Yes.
you know, try and identify when you're kind of hitting the boundary and you need to take the break and you need to close the book and you need to walk away from it and process the information that you've learned. But education is so important. I can't tell you how many people, and I've been with HAPS for 18 years.
Wow.
And when people who have been diagnosed 10 or 12 years and they're like, I've never heard of that. And I'm thinking this is something you should have learned day 2. But no, the doctors know this. And so they don't necessarily think to say every, very particular tip or technique or tool or thing that they think is just very common sense. And the community is also clued into it. And so we really are just trying to help people understand early what the basics of Parkinson's are so that they can continue to build on that knowledge, which I think is really important. And the other is to engage, become a part of this community, really let yourself find your peer group and your support group and some friends who have Parkinson's, because they will really understand your journey in a way that others may be able to sympathize, but to have people who can empathize with you, who understand in that very real way, is so important.
Yeah, I'm a big, big, big believer in support groups because I think you just need other people that have been through your journey or going through your journey to help you through your journey. And
Absolutely.
so, and you learn things from other people. And other people, if they struggle through something, they're very good about giving you information so that you don't have to do the struggle. And so I tell people all the time, support groups are the best. So I'm super excited. Celeste, this has been amazing. Tell people how they find you because there's going to be people that are going to want to.
Yes, absolutely. So here on the screen, you have my phone number and my email. That's my direct line, which can also receive text messages. So please don't hesitate to text if that's easier, or email. I am always looking to provide more assistance to people in the Parkinson's community. And I'm happy to explain any of our programs that we have, so that people can get involved as quickly as possible.
For our listeners, that telephone number is 713-313-1706. And our email address is harris@haps.org. And so, Celeste, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. We look forward to having you on again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Kim.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Life Happens with Kim Hegwood. Be sure to tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. wherever you listen to your podcast as we navigate through the challenges that emerge as life happens. The content of this podcast does not establish an attorney-client relationship or constitute attorney-client privilege, legal, medical, financial, or any other professional advice.